Slither hither, weirdos and witches. You are listening to Pragmagick, and I am Revelator Raj. Probably been a while since I've directly addressed you, oh there, audio listener. But I needed to come clean and to come correct about this new era, this new aeon. We are so fast approaching, if not already 10 feet deep in the undertow of. You see, this Aries stellium has helped motivate me to plant a flag in a sort of transformative trajectory. One that affects this very broadcast arm of our art, religion, and multimedia magic collective, We The Hallowed. But most importantly, it concerns a long-dormant faction of this here broadcast, and that is the live stream. But I've long dubbed, delineated, and diverged from the ho-hum application of the medium, and I've always separated the live stream faction of Pragmagick with a very, very pithy, some would say on the nose, title, and that is the liminal stream. To be honest, I'm in sort of a crucible right now. My constant fight for time, energy, capital, and time, energy, capital to maintain the consistent output of all these projects, such as We The Hallowed, Pragmagick, new albums and performances, micro-publishing, Somatick Magicks and books and albums and cassettes, especially for patrons. All of it has had to be under an unfortunate and dire review due to this very stasis. And this stasis of which I am in currently is one that keeps me away to make the income of which to keep the home we enjoy. How's that for a pain in the ass? Having to work away from the home just to maintain the home I'm rarely in. It's kind of funny actually, but this isn't a sob story, and I've chosen this path largely because it affords me a bit more time for projects. And though it might be dire and drab and disheartening and all around heavy to fight for supreme artistry in this capitalistic nightmare megalithic undertow, it seems to both be so very necessary while at the same time still languishing and being unnoticed. It is my purpose, my purview, and whether or not I'm living well, I'm living unwell, I've always maintained and kept consistent artistic revelry. So, things have to change, but not so much in the factions of all the artistry, no, because that's an absolute, that is an inevitable, those will always persist. But with age has come the dire inventory one must take in reassessing the expenses and the tools of the trade. I mean, the cost of running the site, or let alone the channels of which to create our arts without much qualms, if any, really, or monetary issuance, has proven to be an insurmountable affair, but one that I am proudly still stubborn in. I refuse to buckle or bribe or barter. I refuse to buckle or bribe or barter with the great machine, and I've taken a heavy toll and burden and internalizing why financial independence isn't afforded from these venues quite yet. I keep beating myself up because when you are stubborn in your niche, you tend to remain in that niche. But this isn't about outreach. This isn't about more sales. This is about a divergent path forward. And circling back to the liminal stream, there might be a way to both tend and tarry within creative gusts and constructs while meeting new eyes, inspiring new monetary uplifts to fund all of these burgeoning projects. You see, after wilderness years spent toiling and tinkering with ways to charge the current, it has become all too apparent that the live stream's capabilities of creating wholly intentional transmissions and these third spaces of performance, of sermon, of vexation, without appeasing these rent-mad venues or escalating allowance for artificial intelligence and slop and consumerist nightmare fuel. All of this could nominally be achieved with this art, but more so of the art magic divergence of the liminal stream. And what better way to initiate a new experimental era of wide spectrum dispatches than under this excitingly rare fire stellium under the god of war himself currently transiting. See, due to my increasingly laborious schedule that's largely spent, like I am now, either living out of the car or in cheap Airbnbs, away from the dimming room half of the month, sometimes most of the month, it's become all too apparent that my way through, even with my mental health and keeping an anchor and consistency in a daily practice of art barfing, would be through tithing the ongoing projects while lifting the connected artists in We The Hallowed and growing this burgeoning Patreon base to hopefully one day not need to suffer so much survival within this capitalist nightmare structure. Allow the liminal stream a wonderful spectrum of highly intentional, heavily produced to low-tech, topic-based dispatches while keeping the consistency of a sacred antenna, which is this very voice, and through the magical broadcast current that is Pragmagick. To start, I plan on weekly, to begin, I plan on weekly transmissions, largely from the YouTube Pragmagick channel, eventually through other platforms as well. But keeping a consistent output to the public not only gets me my sea legs back in this broadcast arena, but also keeps me accountable and ever evolving within a paradigm I truly see a future faction of us vying for and needing, and that is one that is human-centric filled, vulnerable, and completely intentional all the way down, no matter if it's from a cell phone or it's from the haunted tech or dead tech necromancy bedazzled dimming room. And I've already initiated this. Just last week I attempted many dispatches, the first of which was a dimming room dispatch that revealed a long time telepathic annoyance of an unwitting poltergeist that I tend to exorcise when my anxiety, my pressure, and my passion all meet in this triumvirate triangle of sadness, and that is performance anxiety in a nutshell. So these liminal streams will also help keep that poltergeist at bay, because folks that witnessed that liminal stream saw random computer issues, unaccountable or uncalculable tech issues, all probably and most likely dispatched from this nervous energy tingling from my very fingertips, me unwittingly, of course. So I let that be a lesson. Instead of doing the liminal current cleanse that I had planned, I cooked with the ingredients that I had when the spirit box broke in my hands right before, and ended up doing an audiomancy tinge current cleanse with a singing saw through guitar pedals, because I can't think of a better way to ward off evil, ghostly, bad spirits than a wailing singing saw through guitar pedals. It did the trick though, because the next day I felt vexed, I felt ex-hexed, and to show the spectrum of what the liminal stream can offer, having just did this crazy production the night before, I decided to simply go live from my phone as I soldered and picked up the pieces of the night before, including the spirit box. And then I found just as much revelation, just as much uncanny purpose and ability to mind and to excel through the things that I so desperately need to hold on to during these rocky and diverse times. I finally was able to perform the big spirit box, the liminal stream, one that incorporated videomancy with highly intentional images and footage. And I've written about it on Substack. I've shared that ritual on Substack. I'm sharing it on wethehallowed.org. And this all goes to show that all of these can transmute, all of these dispatches, and finding a way to either cut up and collage the collection of liminal streams or to just give you the audio after this here short monologue. Either way, they're going to be available. And it's true vulnerability, but also artistic intentionality. But I've said too much and I'll oversay it again because I am about to give you the audio from those very streams. Not the full ritual, probably not really the Spirit Box ritual, because I imagine that would be maddening to listen to, just the audio version of, but everything will be hyperlinked below with more linear thoughts, not as off the cuff as you were hearing now. And so with that, I'll just say that I'm taking the liminal stream to mean my service, my work, and issuing deep clarification and deep resilience that even though things are hard right now, even though everything seems to be breaking down, it's unaffordable, I will find a way to dispatch these revelatory moments, these behind the scenes methods and madnesses of creating my own anarchic magical system like Hantomancy, of constructing new and novel ways to grow inside the great American song pantheon with music and audiomancy. But most importantly, that no matter all the signs saying you're too old for this, you can't afford it, it's too hard, no one's listening, none of that matters to me. Sometimes, deep and lonely in the cold shivering night in my car, yeah, it stings a little. At the end of the day, it doesn't deter from the passion and the purpose I feel in combining and correlating all of these magics that get me out of bed in the morning, to get me to do this, to get me to strive to be better as a human being, as a partner, as a son, as a brother, and to put all of these into practice. And what better way to do that than through divine communion, and that is through the madcap witchery of all of these artistic mediums. So know that I promise you some sort of consistency. I promise you at least a public live stream dispatch weekly. I promise you fervent posts on We The Hallowed, ranging from reviews to full videomancy sessions to create video art for recent albums. I promise you that I will tend to this garden, that I won't get too carried away in my own wiles and inhibitions that keep me away from something that can be an anchor. And this is an anchor right here. So without further ado, you're about to hear the audio from the big dimming room fail stream, where I do wax poetic about the multitudes of reasons why I feel so emboldened right now to take back this faction of the live stream, and the Spirit Box fixing sesh, where I deeply discuss everything from my Shem angel correlation to this mega static poltergeist I have unwittingly been birthing during my performances for close to 2 decades now, and ways to curb that. Well, this is one of them. So sit tight. I promise you future dispatches, especially in the audio form, will be a bit more erudite and not as choppy. Interviews will persist, more in-person interviews, less tech issues, more dispatches, topic-based ones at that. Just this week, I have planned a 1922 Rosicrucian astrological manual to discuss and piecemeal the astrological transits that are happening through these old world, old head eyes from this manual, to drafting up a listening post alpha agent decoding of that Spirit Box section that's already leaps and bounds pretty fascinating. So think of it speed running with higher focus, more consistency, and of course deeper intentionality with all the transmissions moving forward. And taking seriously now, because I never did, and I never have, but truly asking for your support, and just things like likes and reviews and shares, because now it's time I appease a little of that to help this thing grow. I've proven I can do it on my own, and I've found ways to do it without selling my soul or my ethos. But your donations, your subscription to Patreon for as little as $1 a month, your likes, your retweets, your shares, your comments, they all wonderfully, wonderfully help. And they make me feel like I'm not barking mad into the void. Please be in touch. Reach out to me. Let's talk about it. But most importantly, stay cool under this fire stellium and honk honk. Oh, and another thing, yes, I did remember to ask for your support and likes and shares and all that, normal, boring shit. But also, I want you to know that every sound you hear has been made by these bioengineered through years of evolution and gene whittling. No, but every sound you hear and every visual you see has been highly customized and created by these human error-filled knuckles and tendons and sinew and living temporary skin. Everything. The music, the cool, trippy, analog video, glitch art, used with dead tech necromancy that I found out in the wild and brought back to life for unfinished business to create something new and beautiful. Same with the music. Samples, all of it, my custom samples. There's only a Funboy 3 sample in there from the Algo Records, but I've been clear about that one because that's the only thing I've ever sampled that hasn't been me playing or, something I've previously recorded. So know that you're supporting, know that you're enjoying this 120 or so episode podcast through the multitudes of highly produced NPR-like interviews to, off the cuff, shoddy, goof and gab, monologue streams, and everything in between was done only using tools that I have created from me and me alone. No artificial intelligence, no capitalist consumer slop, no shortcuts, no cheat codes. You supporting Pragmagick means you support art. Full fucking stop. Remember that. Be proud of that. We're rare out there. I don't know any other podcaster who does everything, creates everything, or even live streamer, any broadcaster who only uses their own music and has always own images, own art, or connected analog photography of friends that is custom, or, illustrations, cohorts in We The Hallowed like Eric, Millar. Everything is connected from us and us alone. So when you support Pragmagick, you are supporting the last, one of the last bastions of art all the way down. So thank you. About the honk went off was the audio kept cutting in and out. But then again, who else is doing shit like this? Who else, any other streamers who are reviving dead, video formats and doing live video manipulation with their live music and, treating the medium this way? Like, we should band together. I want to know more of these people. I want to get out there. I want to meet these folks, because it does feel like in the advent of the live stream sphere, I'm kind of barking alone here in the void, and that's okay. I think I might have inherently made it that way because I will just say there's a lot that comes through my mind right now, and especially when considering why I'm choosing, this medium is such a bounty for me to not only experiment with all these other mediums, to utilize either, the liminal lit streams and, changing these into podcasts, into video essays. It's always gathering footage. It's like an ongoing video journal. It's, my videomancy, where I'm taking actual, live electric analog video signal from dead engines, and I'm muting them or mixing them together and transmuting them, with my music. And so, everything that you see on this stream, down to the fonts I use, everything is custom. I built it, or I'm learning how to build it, or you know, um, yeah, I've created my, like, my own kind of aspect of it, my own aspector of it, all the way down. There's no AI, and there never will be AI anything touching this world. And when you give up those quick and easy comforts that things like AI and those processes that AI takes for you, and when you take away those creature comforts of, well, if I just sat in front of a desk and talked to a webcam about, this, that, and the other, like, if there's not an actual push and like an experimental romantic fervor to like find something novel and exciting and to test the bounds, like, for fear of failure, and let that be a lesson. I just had to fucking shut everything down and reboot midstream, and like all of the psychic impetus I had on this stream to be like the initiatory, preamble of a constant and consistent anchor, moving forward, and it breaks down mid fucking stream, because of internet, and both my laptop and my desktop started freaking out. It's spooky, and I think I carry a poltergeist, of un mitigated anxious passion, and it pours out of me, and it starts infecting the electrical circuits and things, so it's spooky. And I want to do a write today, and the reason why I didn't just call it and say let's do it again tomorrow, because me having to stop that midstream is kind of the exact, almost beautifully symptomatic of this issue I'm having with performance and public anxieties, and like, you know my my need for all of these like fascinating novel kind of relationships and creation with everything, can get maddening, and it can get yeah, it can get detrimental to a degree when you don't keep it in check. And that's why I think sticking to consistency for something combustible, like I'm planning to do, is to go live, at least an hour a week to start, and have that be the the very least of whatever medium and whatever project I'm working on, as a way to like keep anchored, keep documenting. Through Patreon, I do things like, I call Vex cassettes, and I carry around a handheld cassette recorder. It's right here. And throughout the months, I, you know, jot down my notes. There's a lot of notes on hauntomancy. There's a lot of dream journals. There's, it's something I go back to. It's part of this divergent practice that I have of speaking things to know them,
and to capture them and to to learn them and trust them. And so I think utilizing the liminal stream and this kind of traveling temple that I'm going to have to build, you know, it's going to strengthen that muscle and it's going to keep that punching into the unseen and also allow me to cycle through and even test topics. The next week, it might even happen sooner than later, but next week's stream, since I'll be on the road and probably living out of the car for this work spell um, I have a 1922 Rosicrucian astrology handbook that's really fascinating. And so that'll be the topic and the base of next week's stream. And I'm trying to mitigate it so that the travel streams or when I'm working, when I'm out of town, those can be low tech. They don't have to be these big gargantuan dimming room audiomancy, videomancy things. Leave that for here, where I have true dominion and it's not just about having a sacred antenna, it's also about creating the sacred antenna. And that's here. Um, but this is kind of a call to arms too. Excuse me. All this live stream stress has got me thirsty. But this is also kind of a call to arms in the sense that, you know, I've built a good community. There are some gems that have stayed with me since those pandemic live streaming days, but largely those communities and all of that was a wash for me. None of it was largely helpful aside from meeting people like Stevie, who's in the chat. But I never in my life had been like thrust in more drama, caught in the middle. I'm still dealing with people's attitudes about shit that has nothing to do with me and how even their ties to other dramas coming into my purview somehow makes me an accomplice. All of this kind of bullshit. Um, when I had tried nothing but to be, welcoming and open. And it was a hard lesson from those days that I don't trust anyone. Like, I really don't. Moving forward in these live streams, I am going to have that sort of boundary that if I do feel someone is, you know, a little too contentious for no reason or acerbic or trying to kind of infect the energy with their naughtiness, then I have no qualms about kicking that shit to the curb and getting rid of that. I want this so much to be a foundational, consistent thing. And I want it to be safe for me too. It took me so long to uh, get back into the excitement of being public in a live stream fashion because I had just been burned. It just didn't make much sense to me. I was quite happy, um, you know, being public with written things, or I'll release an edited video or a podcast. But this sort of dynamic where is this kind of never-ending fountain of siphoning energy you're pouring into places you don't know and have no idea where it's bouncing and who's seeing it and what they're thinking. Like it's yeah, I can get real sensitive and weirded out by that shit. And moving forward, I spoke with folks like Genocide, who's in the chat. I'm sure everybody's gone now, which is okay. Oh my god, I just had a back spasm. If my back went out now too, that would be insane. You would almost think like I'm cursed, which I'm not. And I'm not going to be even more so after tonight. No matter how many times I have to reboot this fucking stream, no matter how many times my gear that I've worked so hard the past few days to set up and finalize and sort to have a successful and awesome novel uh, thing happen, and it all breaks down midstream. I don't give a fuck. We are doing this. We are going to commune. I'm going to do a light kind of road opening, kind of my own ritual with the altar prior to that. And then I'm going to try to entrance myself in a kind of hypnagogic communion with the spirit box as the spirit box's transmission affects the light and projections around me to kind of stimulate that dream machine sort of, you know, wander and wonder into the unseen things. But I'm saying all this to mean that, like, yes, I know for myself, I have had a sort of construct of a gremlin that I create, this poltergeist kind of gremlin that, in the most inopportune times, it's always a performance thing. It's like always an event. I work in events. I'm a audio visual engineer. So anything like this happening at my work would be a death sentence. Um, and so when it's me and my shit that I put so much energy in, it comes out and just shoves everything, you know, to the side and allows to run amok. And that's not okay. I've got to snuff that out because I want nothing more than to do this all the time. I should be doing this. I've proven for the last 20 years that you could give me 80-hour a week, working whatever fucking job, and I'm still going to make an album to the best of my abilities of completely original music, you know, uh, no AI type of thing, no like digital process. Like I'm always coming up with novel ways to record music and to create music, and it's the same with any other medium. And that's what I want to do with this one. But for live streamings in general, if I'm on the road, they'll be low tech, more kind of topic focused. If they're here, then they're going to be kind of a shoot from the hip, uh, magical, chaotic affair where I am going to try to do too much. And then I'm going to have to be harshly reminded not to do too much. And that is until someone, maybe it's you, dear viewer in the future or listener, that really digs and supports what we do in We The Hallowed and with Pragmagick and all of this, where everything we own, we've created everything, we've learned how to customize everything down to the CSS in the website, to the OBS scenes that I have here. Oh man, my back is spasming, so I got to be extra careful now. Try to get through this. So if you are down with that, if you agree like we do that that's the answer to the apathetic magic that the entire world is mired in, you don't need to be an astrologer to see how fucked everything is right now. It's coming at us from all sides, especially creatives, especially freelance creatives, and people like me who, you know, I do have to work on things outside of my own art to feed myself, but it's, they're tied. And I would love one day to just focus on all of the art I'm already making. I can't imagine how awesome all of this would be if I had, only myself uh, to be accountable for it in that way. Um, And one way you can do that, of course, is Patreon. And thank you so much to my patrons. And all of this really is as a means too, I really want to make these tethers taut with the community, and I can be aloof and I can be very um, in my own head and in my own universe. And so let this be an exercise that I'm going to continually putting my hand out every week, and you're welcome to high five it, you're welcome to shake it. You're welcome to flip it off. But I'm going to continually do it. I'm going to continually do it, whether or not people show up. Um, I have to be accountable for me. I have to make sure that I am making the most of all of the materium that we have to get more eyes on, our printed works. I have to make sure that I'm doing my most to get, our deep, passionate projects, more ears and eyes, because I haven't been. Um, I safely surrendered into that artistic, snooty, hating marketing. Oh, I have to sell myself now? No way, I'm moving on, and I am. I'm a hyper creator, you know. So it's easy for me to do something, push it out, and not care about it anymore, to move on to something else. And I'm done with that because I want to make things that resonate, right? I want to make things that haunt on long after I'm gone, and it doesn't even have to be as it was intended, but just the mere, intentionality of creating a haunt signal, some sort of signal path as a conduit that helps kind of, form and transmute like-minded, you know, osmosis to create bigger and, more bountiful constructs, until I'm sitting on land that I own in a fucking church I built with my hands, and a church being a bigger dimming room, Um, I can't rest. I can't not take all of the tools afforded. I'm only getting older. Shit's only getting harder. Um, Shit's only getting harder, And I have to do everything in my power so that at some point I can just focus on the shit that I know I'm meant to do rather than, languish in weird and obscure annals of the digital forget me nots, That said, I think it's time to put away and to shun and banish any of that bad juju that might be from the current and beyond. What's left out there poking its head in, trying to get in and fuck with our, you know, creativity and our ability to permeate, what's trying to infect us. Or maybe it's even my, this aggressive, passionate, anxious poltergeist that I telepathically create every time I'm in high stress creative environments that end up fucking up all the technology. It's time to banish those things and to cleanse the current and to allow for brilliant, dispatches, vulnerable dispatches, to exalt human error, to exalt the processes given to all of us creatives and the many, facets and factions that we are seeing being eradicated through prompt engineers and fucking seal bodied Harkonnen that is Elon Musk types, taking and pillaging anything that's left for bland fucking mediocrity. So here's our answer to that, The live stream, or especially in the liminal stream, I should end with another, revelatory call to arms about it is that it is our it is free to us to utilize as a sacred antenna. It's given to anybody. Anybody with a phone can do it right now. And they can create their own music venue. They don't need to go through the rigmarole of the bar scene and drunks and the, venue mafioso that stiffs you on the payout, the pay to play bullshit, the payola record, um, you know, payola at radio stations. Like, we create our own radio stations, we create our own venues, we create our own temples, we create our own churches, and we do that, and we can do that through live streaming, but especially through liminal streaming, which is the deviation and the difference. Um, so yeah, as an answer to not only the capitalist, fucking slop scum, slowbot inertia that is surely coming our way. Um, let's kick some of the ghosts that's still left within the dead internet and create highly intentional, exciting, creative digital environments that we can cast and conjure wherever we see fit and make anything, our astro or our traveling temple or traveling school, university, performance center, whatever. So that's what I'm intending to do with it. That's what I want to see going forward. I won't suffer idiots in the comment section. I won't suffer trolls. I like a good joke just as much as the next guy, but in these spaces, I'm going to go ahead and entrust my lovely friends and early moderators to see fit that there's no goof juice happening, that I'm not this is not a venue to be triggered or to cause somebody to be triggered. I'm not inviting you to for a back and forth to argue. I don't give a fuck, um, you know, about debating. I don't care about any of that shit. I don't want any of that drama, any of that. So please, you know, allow this moving forward, whatever the Pragmagick broadcast, is during that kind of liminal stream, um, to enjoy it for its deep intentionality and for all, and just know like everything in the back end has been labored over. It took me 2 days, truly, to not only reformat my live performance setup because I had to do that anyway for an upcoming show, but to like truly figure out a choreography of how I'm going to present to you somewhat of an interactive, magical rite, an art magic rite. And we'll go through that right now, and I'll show you how I'm doing it. You can join along. I'm not entirely sure how you would join along, but you'll witness, my machinations and how I'm going to creatively showcase, you know, my altar time, my communion with the spirit box, how I'm doing that and how I'm creating this world. I'll show you how I do that because the process is just as, valuable to me and as exciting to me, almost to a detriment. That's my big thing. I love the process too much that I get lost in it and I add things because I love experimenting and tinkering. And today, who knows, I might have got a win to plug something else or try a different thing here. And that was the fucking straw that, broke the camel's back. So on my end, I'm learning to temper that and to stick to the plan and keep it erudite and focused. You know, Believe me, I'm aware of the criticisms that I'm sure, my creative colleagues have voiced their frustrations of me being too excited about the the type of old video format that I've learned to, digitize and use in the modern way. Sometimes that shit it doesn't need to be so obsessed over. I get that, but it means something to me because it is part and parcel to hauntomancy. It truly is hauntomancy in the most pragmatically, you know, quantifiable exercise is to find dead memory makers or memory capturers like cameras and you know video cameras and cassette tapes and videotapes, and to basically breathe life and to revive these ghosts of unfinished business, and to bring them into this current prescient, you know atmosphere, and have them exist as an entirely new construct never thought of before. And so that's, I'm going to do, I think, the first spirit box communion with audio triggered projections. So you will visually see the transmissions um, as they flicker and cycle. And I will too, behind like closed eyes and meditation. And, I'm doing it to incite some sort of meditative kind of hypnagogia to like kind of get to the basis of it. And so my hope is that Little Wind, who is a specter that I was introduced to through similar practices, who enjoys and has been around for a lot of the audiomancy stuff. They told me as such anyway, through the same kind of communion. I'm hoping that Little Wind will hang with us here now, will be present for making the oncoming broadcast current that we are charging into something bountiful and useful, and something that, um, yeah, something that's of service, too. And it's not just I don't know, dick around on things, as much as I do like doing that too. But that said, let me kind of reassess. I'm going to check the chat, and hopefully my audio's been okay. Hopefully everything's okay now, and then we'll launch into the ritual, and I'll kind of get stuff set up and tested, and we'll hit going. It'll be really interesting. I'll say that much. You will not be uh, bored. And hopefully those of you out there that are going to, hang with me through the actual Spirit Box communion, I'd love to hear your interpretations of what comes through, because more ears on these type of things are so beneficial, as I've learned working within Listening Post Alpha and the fellow agents, and creating our own keys to decipher these transmissions with the ALW cipher later, which I plan to do um, following this up. So that all said, it's going to be interesting, and I don't think ever before attempted, at least in the, as far as a modern dream machine like Spirit Box communion with, old VHS and cathode ray tube camera footage. It's like it's intricate, and it's maddening. So no wonder why things fuck up. There's so many things that could go wrong, and how everything is set up because of just the magnitude of different and various weirdness that I'm working with. So let me check the chat, and hopefully we are kind of back to normal. Oh, yep. Hey, Stevie, good to see you. Um, And there's Leo. Hey, buddy. Good to see you, Afraid of Perseus. I feel you, Keats. Take the reins and drive it forward. Salutations from Synthetic Rebellion. Good to see you as well, sir. Um, yeah, amen to that. Like, yeah, let's initiate this shit. Let's do something novel and exciting, and let's answer this oncoming AI fucking, droog slop with some real rock and roll. So, first things first, what I wanted to do as a kind of a way to get as a liminal right, really. I'm gonna light some candles, some color coded candles that I've chosen to mean specific things. I'm not necessarily sure yet if I want to reveal my personal. No, what am I doing? We're doing this together. So let's talk about it. So I work within a deviation, and have been for, off and on really since kind of when I was a kid. The reason why I work with her so much is because I was raised around her, um, and am familiar with her, and she grew quite prominent in my life. But you'll see a lot of Santissimo Muerte kind of affectations and kind of piecemeal operations in her devotionals and stuff, and a lot of the kind of ritual and altar work that I do, utilizing that as kind of a ground formational um, aspect. I'm not by any means ever going by the book or recipe on any spellcraft or any of that stuff, but for my own kind of, novational and devotional aspects, uh, I use her for prayer. I use her for, yeah, a kind of like daily communion. And I've always found it incredibly healthy to, you know, to make good and to be of service to, you know, the White Lady and, you know, old Death herself, because it is what looms for everyone. So we got to get right with it. Anyways, long story short, there's a lot of personal stuff in there about it. Um, but she's very, in her folk saint sort of way, her kind of candle operations are color coded. And those colors mean different things. And that's always just a fun affectation I like to do, uh, when peppering that in to a rite. I'm a big color person. I'm a big like color wheel, color theory sort of you know, synesthesiac when it comes to even planning and coordinating. So the way of utilizing colors within creating divergent rituals make perfect sense to me. And a lot of them too, as you'll see, kind of share in with Elena, who created the Tarot of Gradation, whose Kabbalistic map I have hanging behind the altar, is all very color theory based as well. Um, and so for the three candles that I chose on my long storied and weathered candelabra that I use for my operations, and I'd normally actually do this in the attic, but because we're doing somewhat of a tech enthused sort of ritual, it's best to do it down here. And I chose black, purple, and pink. And I think in the Santissimo Muerte kind of traditions and connotations, black, of course, is the kind of defense and banishment, and keeping kind of a hard, almost punchy defense, uh, and creating a blockade and a barrier, or charging that or whatever. I like to think anytime I'm doing an act of, incendiary kind of communion with a candle, there's a part of me that really is thrusting a concentration and a dollop of like intensity of that, that color. And it's almost like it once it's lit, it sort of shades a force field, right? And black has just always been, especially in that tradition, has been, the severity kind of aspect of the mercy kind of coin. And pink for me, that's a and I think a lot of people confuse it in the shorthand for love, but for me it's just very much about emotional well-roundedness and a sort of like yeah, kind of an emotional health and resonance and interpersonal kind of correlations. And then purple, of course, is the Mystic Knight of the Oingo Boingo sort of color, and one of my favorites. And I charge all the time, and to me, that's kind of the torchbearer of the psychic kingdom. So really, this is about not only kind of tightening our barriers as we barrel through these weird new currents we're about to embark on, utilizing that with the black, but also keeping in mind and in check the transformative psychic, you know, growth and evolution we're about to go under, and to make sure that we have our wits and our emotionality about us to handle it and digest it and to utilize it and to transmogrify it and to you do the real alchemy, which is to change the inner rough and tumbles into outer sky fists. So yeah, so I have those colors. What I'll do is there's somewhat of a choreography I have with my altar knife, and there's some lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram type of movements I do sometimes. A lot of that too is kind of reinforcing, you know, a force field in a way as well. But really, for me, it's just a psychic way of kind of getting into, the heteronym of the act, of the play that we're about to enact. And it's all of these exercises of which to train the mind to kind of, you know, really kind of get into that zone. So I think physical movement, somatic movement is important for that, which is also why I, swear by somatic movement within audiomancy, and why I don't think audiomancy that was just used through computers and mouse clicking is not really audiomancy. And not to me. I won't say nothing isn't something, because it takes all kinds. But to me, that kind of defeats the purpose if you're not, funneling your psychic engine uh, with some actual biodegradable movement. So, nothing too big or pompous. These are all just very kind of common, hedge witch type shit. And this is really just to kind of initiate the atmosphere, as I turn on the spirit box and get that shit sorted. That's the other thing I want to say is none of my gear is expensive, and all of the software is open source. Obviously, none of my gear is expensive. It breaks down all the time, right? And it's old or secondhand, but there's also an egalitarian kind of effort within that as well. I'm always looking for the ramshackle sort of, breathing life into kind of used and haunted things to create something new. And so secondhand older laptops to do specifically one thing, like run a software that just basically sends a video signal to the projector. Um, but the cool thing about this software, which is also free, called VDMX, is that I can, for lack of a better, explanation, is I'll put the spirit box signal through this program so that the spirit box affects the signal that I'm being projected. So that's how you'll visually see the transmissions. That's how you'll visually see when it locks onto a word. And it's my theory and my idea, as I've done some recent um, spirit box sessions like this with the projections, is that there is a hypnagogia that you can entice through the repetition and cycles of light behind your eyes as you're meditating and thinking on things. And I've had some really fun experiments, some very, free drugs, man. It's the mind of just, affecting the light frequency response and stuff from behind my eyes. So that's a really cool aspect of it. and that's something I'm continuously experimenting with. And the reason why I bring in all this tech and I just don't do a spirit box session like you see people do all time and time again is because say this were um, cast to the great beyond and I'm trying to reach certain people. Well, you know, I would need to call from my area code, my phone. My signal has to be as unique as I am uh, in reaching out. Otherwise, it gets lost in the void or gets picked up by whatever. I want mine to be as characteristic as the things that are described that we might be seeking, right? I want to be as characteristic as anything in the lesser key of Solomon, right? I want legions, but I truly believe, and it's almost part and parcel to why I think dress and attire, not only for ritual but just in life. I think there are these beacons and these effervescent, almost hidden, unseen signals that we are emanating at all times, and who knows what we're attracting. Um, and how. And I don't think you should peacock or anything, but I do think it's attainable to want to be the smith of your own sort of eminence, to be the creator and the conjurer of your own eminence. How that radio signal is perceived and shot across the galaxy and what that looks like. Is it a ray of light? Is it a dotted line? Is it asphalt going 100 miles per hour in space? Who knows? It's how you are kind of constructing it and throwing it out there. So that's why I think utilizing videomancy and audiomancy is opportune if this were the case. If you're trying to get noticed by things that I'm sure, let's just say they are real, these gods that we're trying to meet, these goddesses, these, ghosts, these cryptids, whatever you want to say. The super spectrum, right? The John Keel of it all. Let's just say all that's real, then, wouldn't they be fucking bored to fucking death getting spam calls from monotonous, robotoned, people basically utilizing the phone like everyone else in the same way, asking the same questions, or the Ouija board, you know what I mean? So I almost feel like, in a way, uh, the majority are the spam calls out to the beyond. So of course you're going to get pranksters and people and things that are fucking with you on the way back that want to upend you know, the spam calls. Stop calling me. Fucking boring people, right? You uncreative, boring human beings. So let's be not boring and let's be creative human beings about how we contact and how we call these things. And so this is another idea of how to do it. Let's buoy the fucking the spirit box session with some videomantic, like highly intentional. The footage that I'm using to project and affect is all shot by me. It's my own footage. It's me down to the core. So if we are, deconstructed into atoms and signals, you know what I mean? At least mine will have some signatures further down of whose it was, right? So, long story short, that's why I'm using all this kind of shit. And when you're broke like I am, and you're a tinkerer like I am, you use a lot of half-broken shit to get it done. This should work, though. I have been using it. Hey, oh. Okay. So we want to make sure that it's very noticeable that it changes. That's pretty good. Right.
One value my ears.
So you can tell that the spirit box is affecting it. It's going with the rhythm. So I'm just turning it down for now, trying to get a good signal, making sure you guys hear it okay. And then yeah, I'll still work with it a little bit because I think we can get it to really change here. So we want to do
Dead.
there we go. Okay, so let's
Your word. No. So many.
Oh no, I might have stalled it. Getting too fancy with it. Come on, baby. Work out. Okay. Well, that does its thing. You know, best laid plans and all. My time is so limited when I'm home that I was so excited to, basically do a big initiation for these live streams. Also work on my live set, my music set for the show next month, and all the other, recording or filming or performing, and all the magic that's here. Spending time with Mary and Zaro. And so it's a bummer when stuff like last night happens where it's out of my control, everything that screwed up from the internet signal to the weird both computers glitching because of new OBS plugins, like, and then having to spend even more time fixing those things, especially the spirit box, which right before decided to just completely break. But I've been, meditating on it quite a bit, and it really feels. So the way I relate it to is if you study hauntings, and it's funny we're talking about a spirit box in this case. I'm not bringing this up because of the spirit box, but if you study hauntings like the Enfield poltergeist and other such like poltergeists, especially high, active, in the somatic realm, hyper kind of, spirit cases, there's a through line and a really like very interesting and deeply insightful theory regarding the usually there's like a pre-pubescent or some child, largely like of the born female variety, going through the teenagedom of that, and it happens to relate that every one of these occurrences has that kind of energy in the house, And there's a theory that because of the haywire hormonal things happening in these growing children, that it's physically being manifested as like these poltergeist kind of phenomenons, and they're unintentionally basically, creating this chaos. And folks, forever have been studying like it's coming from, inside the house and not from the person itself. I remember when Insidious came out and everyone thought it was so clever because it was like, oh, it's the human that's haunted, not the house. What a clever idea. And it's like, oh, we've been talking about that shit forever. Um, and I truly feel that I have this ongoing issue when it comes to live streams and performance, and I always have. I could even find a review for a Dakota Slim album it'll be 20 years old this year, but a review starts in the Willamette Weekly 20 years ago about how I usually have bad performances because of all these technical issues. So it's been haunting me for 2 decades, all of this, technical just bouts of high energetic and chaotic unnecessarily, on purpose, and hugely issue creating things. And it always happens not during testing, not during rehearsal, always happens during the actual performances. And it dawned on me that there's a big possibility that I am psychically constructing this kind of like energetic, like by literal energy, not demonic, but troublemaking gasm, this geist, from my anxiousness and from my high kind of impassioned, obsessiveness when it comes to art and ritual and all this. And because I can't keep this energy bottled up, it like dissipates and moves out of me into the tools and things that I'm using, causing complete, shutdown or collapse, from, musical instruments to computers to cameras. Like, it's uncanny. It's very odd, and it dawned on me. I had a revelation after yesterday that everything was working perfectly and completely fine until I hit live. And because of that psychosomatic thing, that now people are watching me do what I do well and good without people watching me, there's an anxiety about it, and a performance anxiety. And keeping that energetic demon, who I'm calling the negastatic monster, I'll come up with a better term for it, but this kind of energetic geist, it unleashes, because adding that little bit of public performance to an already feverish, I've always been super serious and passionate, and like a bit too much. It took me years to chill out a bit. And I still have that semblance in me where my anxieties are just super heightened, especially when it comes to creativity in my art projects, because I'm so sanctimonious about it, whether or not that's pretentious or, even keeled. It's just something I've always had. And so it's really fascinating to me, and I want to explore more about how I, unwittingly kind of expel this tremor of a energetic poltergeist, that screws things up that shouldn't otherwise, malfunction. Because it doesn't happen at work. And my work as a freelance, audiovisual specialist, I'm super successful at, and have never had an issue for other people's performances, running the sound behind the board or the broadcast, or switching videos for, events that are projected to millions of people, not millions, thousands and thousands of people. I don't have that anxiety. And so I've always been successful at that. But when it comes to my stuff, when it comes to my art that I hold so deep and dear, I unleash this kind of, you know, TV static ghost that just unleashes havoc on things that shouldn't otherwise, uh, malfunction or go down. It's super interesting. And I'm going to explore that more and talk about that more. But there's a lot of things I should have done. There's a lot of liminal rights that I should do before um, live streams. And yesterday's I made far too big. And of course it is, because I'm home and I have the studio, the dimming room, and I have so much I want to do. And rehearsing it or testing it, it was all working out beautifully. And I have some footage, you know, captured of it all. I had a friend over the night before, and we had a whole spirit box session that was affecting the projections, and it was mesmerizing and amazing. And then when I went live, and it became a performance in a way, that Geist came out and caused havoc and broke the spirit box, and tripped up two different computers running OBS for different things, and it was just chaos, and I couldn't recover. I couldn't recover. So and I did do that stream without having my liminal rights, without having my kind of like ritual bath and meditation beforehand. I was having to deal with putting or getting new tires on the car, that the truck that I use to take on these work trips, that I'm living out of basically on these trips. And so it's just high stress, and all that money, energy, and annoyance, tax days and all this stuff. And there were things I could have done to mitigate that ghost, and I know that now. And that's what I'll make sure I end up doing moving forward. Like today, I got my meditation in through a walk to go pick up the car from our neighborhood tire place. And it occurred to me I wanted to do this. Like, I want to fix the spirit box. I want to talk about, the or transubstantiation of taking these experiences like yesterday, and alchemizing them into motivating uh, lessons and usable experiences. Because for me, as a creator, experiences sacrosanct. It's like everything. Experiences is what funnels into what I create, which is why it's so interesting to me that like other podcasters and people can interview people they don't have like a relation to their work with, or they're like strangers in a way. Even creatively, it's like it's so hard for me not to want to be so personable and vulnerable within everything that I'm creating and casting. So it's interesting. And yeah, there's a lot more to be said to that, but I need to grab some water. I've realized that I dry my mouth out gabbing too much too. Hey, Niche, how are you? Good to see you. Um, I'm back in the Oregon, you know, area, trying to make it work, going up to Seattle back and forth all the time. If you're ever around these parts, Niche, we should definitely meet up. It'd be so good to see you again. Yes, we should meet up soon. Yeah, please get a hold of me. So much to talk about. So much has happened. Um, I'm so glad that you came by. A lot of this is because weekly I'm going to be doing more of these, and the spectrum of them will be super produced multi-camera, and when I say multi-camera, I mean like VHS cameras and cathode ray tube cameras, audiomancy sessions and videomancy sessions to, just being on the phone here. So, yeah. And that's my big announcement too, to everyone, through We The Hallowed and all that is, I'm going to take a concerted effort to do everything in my power so that these things are more my life than anything else. Because right now I am suffering, trying to fit into, the loose kind of capitalistic structure, uh, you know, and yeah, and I've hit a certain age now too where this stuff never ends. I've had 1,800,000 jobs, but I've always made albums. I've always, created and wrote books and wrote, for websites and put out cassettes now, and you know what I mean. I'm always creating and doing something, and so to create a way forward and to reveal that way forward so that I can focus just on that stuff is the goal. So I figure what better way to start than to exalt the things that we've already built, and Pragmagick as like the broadcasting arm and the multimedia grimoire is a perfect kind of conduit to press and exalt and the change and the ratify and this new kind of liminal stream punching forth and beyond. Your creature life is inspirational. You always keep the fire. Oh, thanks, Niche. That's lovely to hear. Sometimes it feels like you're barking into the void. But then again, I think that's been largely by design. I think it took me a long time to understand how to use these tools and mechanisms in a creative way to feel fulfilled, that also really help and help the marketing or whatever, help the back end of things. And I want to utilize those tools now because I think I've found a way forward through them, and I owe it to folks that I create with to see through these things, get the most eyes I can on them. Creative. I need my glasses on. Oh yeah, I like creature life too. That makes sense because my creature life is exceedingly creative as well. But right now I am repairing the spirit box that my poltergeist, telekinetic, anxious energy, specter created and just took the technology down at every step last night prior to this ritual, and the spirit box was the last to get got. And actually, this is one of the only one that actually broke in the physical sense. So right now I'm just kind of going through and soldering it back together, and hopefully I can get this working again. This is the third time I fixed this cheaply made little radio transistor. Third time I fixed it, but hey, getting a shit ton of use out of it. And if I get it fixed again, I'll try to, before I go back on another work stint, living out of the car and working up in northern Washington, I will try to do this videomancy spirit box communion, where I have the spirit box interact with the video footage that I'm artistically mixing and projecting in the room, and the sound triggers and affects those visuals and helps kind of incite a hypnagogic sort of dream machine like meditation. And I find it just like, if anything, just a better embellishment of the atmosphere to commune. Last night I talked about, it's also, I'm always finding ways to make my sacred antenna or my signal itself look or seem iconoclastic in some way, Because imagine getting spam calls, you know, as a deity or as the other, and everyone's calling the same way and everyone's using the same tools to call, and I'm sure it's a drab and it's boring as all get out. And so finding artistic ways to shoot that signal into the beyond, into the unseen, you know, gives you a little more um, radiance and a resonance, so that hopefully some beneficial and benevolent dudes, kind of dudes and dudesses, or dudes and androgynous s's, pick up the phone. So that's the somatic packages with me and ship them out for somatic subscribers on Patreon while I was in Seattle. But that was only because I was supposed to be in Seattle today, but had to replace my car tires, and they could only do it today. So I found someone to stand in for the show that I'm doing. So that actually bought me a couple extra days here. And I only say that because now I'll be up in Seattle for just a few days this week, and I can ship the somatic packages from home instead. But in the future, what we're going to do is we're going to ship more frequently, just less big packages like I've been doing, because they haven't been, honestly, they haven't been monetarily feasible. You know, we were madcaps for a while. We got 2 seasonal print newsletters done. I did 7 separate tapes with all original artwork and, you know, contents, and everything from Hauntomancer chapters to full albums. You know, so we were riding strong there for a bit, and that's when I was kind of, you know, I was working a lot, so I was making enough money to kind of have fun and send them out. And I'll get there again, but it's time to be a little bit more business savvy about keeping consistency and frequency. Of course, like this time, since we don't have a haulers or any kind of the print issues, and I'm largely just doing cassette tapes, a lot of the micropress subscribers will actually get new Revelator Raws double album, both Algol 1 and 2, with extra songs on each side. So, or like even the super Algol is what I'm calling it. Here's the master tape right here. So this is the high quality master. One side is Algol 1, and the other side is Algol 2. And it's a full 90-minute tape. And those will go out to all somatic subscribers. I'm sorry, all the hex cassette subscribers, and you know, as well as the micropress subscribers. So as my gift to everybody for subscribing. And then plus, you know, we're gonna have a haulers out again soon, and we'll be back, and I'll have another tape. So this is just kind of getting back on the horse here. Videomancy ritual and spirit box communion, you know, might be today, might be tomorrow, but I want to do it before I leave as an initiatory thing before launching these weekly liminal streams that'll be topic based, it'll be focused, it'll be either from the phone like this, or they'll be super big, you know, dead tech productions like that work, you know, like I've been doing from the dimming room. So it'll be all kinds. I just had to cleanse the juju out, because those of you that know me know that I have had a very fickle relationship with the medium of live streaming, and largely was soured on the whole affair until I had a revelatory moment about, you know, my own kind of income woes, my own kind of like vocational woes, and the medium's ability to allow everyone to create their own venue and their own performance space and their own kind of radio station and their own kind of broadcast signal. And it can be whatever you want. And knowing that and going off the deep end with, utilizing VHS cameras and cathode ray tube cameras and dead tech and live video mixing and in-room production projections. Like, that's how I see to do it. That's how I want to do it. That's the fun part. The sitting at a desk and giving hot takes and eating DoorDash type is not what we're gonna do here. And that said, I will be looking for more moderators. KB, if you'd like to be one, I'd totally make you a moderator on this channel. You're a good egg, to help me keep out the riffraff and the people that bring sour juju. But yeah, the drama of the old school kind of, stream and fuck around and just, God, it was so dramatic in those old ufology and occult circles of the recent internet past. And glad to be over it, and glad I've had the wilderness years and the time and the creation of other mediums to find how I want to use it. And, in this age of slop content and AI, this is kind of the last vestige of true human, internet interwoven kind of correspondence and vulnerability and artistry. So that I'm gonna say this because moving forward, the liminal streams are going to be at least once a week. They'll be either from my car on a phone, discussing. I have the Rosicrucian astrology handbook that will be next week's main liminal stream, and we'll discuss that. To big productions in the dimming room when I'm home, that can be totally transmedium. And if they're well enough, I also promote them in article form with some thoughts and writing on wethehallowed.org. And if they do well enough, I can quickly edit or even just make them into audio casts that can hit that broadcast medium. So I found a way to creatively interject the live stream, medium as liminal streams, which are art magic kind of based, either performance or discussion, but all live and human error exalted. How do I get this flashlight off? There we go. Human error exalted, anti-AI slop, highly intrinsic, highly, intentional all the way down, like from all the gear used, everything used. The thumbnails are custom. Some of them are, photographs of us, that were hand developed by Logan Ford, true old school photography. Or there'll be disruption generator components like I used to use for the old Pragmagick episodes. And I think a cool thing I can do, and let me know if there's other liminal stream kind of rituals or little things we can include or do every stream. Right now, what I want to do is every liminal stream, I want to, like I used to, utilize a disruption generator component. Basically, pull a component or use a random number generator to give me a number of a component, a random component, and use that image. Here, let's do it. We'll use that image as the liminal stream thumbnail illustrated by Eric J. Millar. And we'll kind of meditate a little on whatever the component is. Maybe it's a end of stream thing like CW does with tarot. Maybe it's a first thing when the stream happens, you know. Hey, what's up? Leo, yes, I told you repair my Fostex 4-track. Hey, if I repair it, I might keep it. I love those things. Good to see you. But yeah, I have other things. This is the biggest one that I'm really bummed about. This is a pedal operated cassette recorder and speed variation. So basically I had a foot pedal that would vary the speed. So you use it kind of in line as a guitar pedal, and you have a true cassette like tremolo, tape tremolo, and it was awesome. And I did a lot of the handmade cassette loops that I was doing. Were kind of the sounds that were made and tested on were from this guy. And something went wrong with this guy that I got to figure out. But this one's already kind of a circuit bent, hacked into weird, unique thing. So I'm in fear of fucking it up. But basically, I can't get sound out of it anymore. And so it doesn't use what used to be the audio outputs. It now uses these new ones, and when I cracked it open, everything looked fine. So I don't know, but anyways, yeah, I'm with you. Once I get better at these skills, if I can fix that thing, then I could probably fix your 4-track too. But I'm interested to see what's wrong with it. A lot of times it's a real simple fix. A lot of times it's a stupid capacitor here. It's a servo in the cassette. But yeah, here we go. There it goes, and it's on. Forward. Volume. I can hear it faintly, but let's plug it in. Interesting. Because now I'm not getting anything out of the speaker either. What is up with this thing? It's such a weird little demon. I just had it working. I can hear it. Yeah, there it goes. There it is. Yeah, it's a bummer when I have to put pressure on it because it's a bad jack. Yeah. But that might be good enough to... I'll test it later. I'll get it in a good spot. And if I can consistently get signal out of it, then I'll work with it. But I know what it is, and it's another easy fix. So... moving on from that, what I have to do. Oh, let's go ahead and pull the disruption generator. Maybe I'll find the component on wethehallowed.org, and we'll use that. I'm gonna unplug this soldering iron for now, and then we'll use that as the thumbnail. But I was kind of thinking about a lot like Shem Angels, and working with them energetically and meditating on the one that's in my degree of Pisces and like my birthday, a Yale. It was just like reading up on their entire thing, their oeuvre as a Shem angel, and it's like me to a T. It's like my entire, axiom as like a purposeful creator is like the transmutation of, you know, experience, both like beautiful and hardship, into kind of transcendent works of art and creativity. And it's so interesting that the angel that governs that, you know, it happens to be my Shem angel. So was thinking a lot, like how yesterday was a very like, that was a moment where my telepathic poltergeist creating vector started running havoc and breaking everything and breaking things down. And it was a reminder that like I don't need all of that shit. You know, I don't need the dead tech. I don't need the, you know, the old cameras and the barely alive, you know, true analog video mixing and projection and you know, the spirit box and all that. And it's like I don't need all of that to create. Um, I can just have a phone and I could just be here with you as I fix things and talk about things. And to me, that was the kernel of like the true transubstantiation of turning something rather, you know, kind of pallid or boring as like fixing circuitry into a moment shared between, you know, individuals across the world as we navigate this insanity that's happening around us, whether astrologically or, you know, via the war, via fucking capitalism's nascent dark fucking descent into robo slop. It's like we have these moments to really churn and burn something powerful and unique from. And you don't need all of the highly intentional and highly intrinsic, you know, all the way down gear. Of course, at my best and when I am my best, you know, all of that stuff is working in Congress. But when it comes to fight against me is when I've become reliant on them to make something profound. And I don't need any of that to, you know, find something profound or to create something profound or to, you know, be a part of something that's profound. And that was a huge lesson yesterday, was if I could see through kind of the performance anxiety aspects and the everything I was trying to do, you know, if I can see through that frustration of what the fuck, all of this is working, I don't understand what's breaking, what's going on, and just take it as a moment to kind of center and you know, talk more about what was happening and maybe try to reel in and exorcise that telekinetic poltergeist I create, you know, during performances, then, you know, that would be me at my, that's my super self. My super self can weather any of that shit and, you know, make art or make something substantive with nothing, right? Like the John Lennon quote, I'm an artist, you give me a tuba, I'll get something out of it for you. You know what I mean? And I truly believe that. And so last night was a firm reminder that like when I am home and I'm able to do these weekly streams at like the craziest caliber of highly intentional, you know, artistic dominion possible, that's wonderful. That's brilliant. And I should have, you know, I should be excited and allow for, you know, that kind of marriage of intentionality and skill and performance to blend into some beautiful haunt signal into the beyond. But at the end of the day, and like next week when I'm living out of my car during these work trips and, you know, suffering this kind of a this capitalistic Ouroboros, you know, that we're all going through to make ends meet and stuff. You know, I don't need any of that shit to dispatch some deeply, you know, moving and spiritual kind of aspects of which we're all kind of, you know, mired in. See, Genocide says, I'm just getting shit on today by people I'm not doing anything to. Basic facial dude giving shit teens the same, but got told to F off is is it a new moon? It is a new moon, and I think it's an Aries, and we have a stellium, a very like once in centuries or something crazy stellium of Aries. It's Aries all the way down right now, and it's nuts. But I'm just getting shit on today by people I'm not doing anything to. Basic facial dude giving shit teens the same gut. Yeah, sorry, man. Sorry, Jonas. I apologize. I think my mental uh, disfluencies may keep me from understanding the syntax there on that one. Niche says there is some really harsh astro weather going on for the next few days, like explosive Mars stuff. Yes, I know for sure. Staying found. Hey, good to see you. Heck yeah, friend. Hell yeah. Always love that. Yes, it's supposed to be the 19th and the 20th, I think, are the crazy Mars Aries conjunction Saturn explosivo. I think in the world stage, especially right now, where in my chart Aries is my eighth house, which is the spooky house, and so I'm having to deal with that in all sorts of ways. If I was to say that my birth time is what it is, even though no one knows what it is. And that's got wiggle room too. I'm still investigating my own astrological prism. Next week, when I break open the Rosicrucian handbook, we can talk about, they break down kind of planet to planet conjunctions and whatnot, but it's very much written in the old world kind of machismo, bravado, anti-feminine, you know, emotionality. So like, we have to remember that the Piscean oeuvre was doggedly disrespected for almost the entire millennia of which it's named, in the Piscean age. Uh, the Pisces have had a bad go of it just because of these binary, constructs of what is a man and what is a woman, and then, the Piscean kind of manly, in touch with his emotions that we see in so many movers and shakers, and Piscean people in the Piscean age move art, and progress through, through the many different mediums of art have all been that like bridge between like the deeply divine masculine and feminine. So with this Rosicrucian book, it's still mired in that, these Pisces are pansies, basically, that kind of vibe. So it's pretty funny. I always read it like they're talking about my shadow side with that, but I'm a recovering Piscean, so what can I say? What is it? I'm a Pisces apologist. There you go. All right, so for our disruption generator card today, and then I'll cut open some cassette tapes and get those duplicating, and then probably get on my merry way of fixing more things before the trip. The Pisces, the Pisces card, no, but the disruption generator card for today's stream, Ox. And if we were to look that up right now, I want to use my phone, but a little worried too. So what I'm going to do is I'll go to the laptop, and we'll go to, this will be a fun way for those of you to play along. If you don't have the disruption generator, you can still investigate the components via wethehallowed.org. So we go to wethehallowed.org, and while we're there, we'll look at the magnifying glass up on the top, and we'll search the site for disruption generator Ox. And while we're at We The Hallowed. Oh yeah, sorry, my internet's probably really slow because I have the Ethernet being funky. Once we're there, it takes us right to it. I just searched for it, and that's number 63. So that's I always want to keep log of the numbers of the components because there is a arithmetic there, I think. But the beauty of the disruption generator is that it is upon us to kind of create the the lore and the shades of it. So disruption generator number 63 ox, and it says ox, and it was back in 2019. The beast that pulls the plow, labor and endurance. What is this liminal stream but a repair stream discussing sometimes you just got to get back on the horse, right? And we got to tend to that farm. If there was ever a more appropriate card, and I'm telling you, that is the wonderment and power of the disruption generator. And unfortunately, it is not a card medium. The disruption generator is a book. It's a bibliomantic oracle, and you can find that on Amazon in a pocket edition. It's relatively cheap. Or go to wethehallowed.org, which is our art collective, our publishing site, and you can go to, I think it's, let's see, oh, print. Or you go to the link tree. Yeah. Store will take you there. There's my cassettes that I make that we sell, the zines, Divergent Magic Grimoire that I made. There's the disruption generator, and you can find the portable one on Amazon right now. So there you go. Just another little plug. I know we talked about it and did it with Eric Arneson and Luxa, and Eric told me that some folks had bought it just from that Honquinox. So as hard and as tech troubled as the Honquinox was, I couldn't be more overjoyed that what came from it was Eric getting some sales and boosting his works. And that's why I want to be consistent with the live streaming, the newsletters, with the Somatick packages, and to gain more eyes and to meet more folks, get more patrons, get more folks subscribed on YouTube, whatever, because I did it my way for 20 years, not taking any advice or business advice on, podcast consistency or, format or any of that. And I still won't take that advice. But what I will do is find my own way to marriage that consistency. And one way I can do that with everything that I've already built is through these liminal streams. And so you can meet me here every week. I don't have a set day or time because my life and my schedule is so hectic. So hopefully I'll have 24 hours at least prior so that I can, create a link that folks will know of. And right now I am just uncasing brand new. Brand new cassettes. And we'll be making very rare, the only in all of creation, talismanic cassette constructs of my Algol album series, and the only time where those two albums are together, and you can hear them as one thing until the third one is finished. So eventually I'll have these for sale on, through the Bandcamp and through We The Hallowed. But right now you can go to We The Hallowed. I'll see if I can throw it in chat real quick. There's many versions of my last album because we are experimenting. I want to do so much of the video stuff too is because we're experimenting with our own, utilizing our site as our own distribution vehicle. In a perfect world, the goal is we can host our own videos. You know, we don't need to use YouTube or any of these platforms. You know, we own our own land. We build on that land, sort of thing. And I did that with the last album. I only gave streaming platforms, I think, 5 songs out of the 9 or blah blah blah, so they didn't get the full album whatsoever. And We The Hallowed hosted its like through a player and everything, uh its own version of the song with different renditions of songs and different recordings mastered together. And moving forward, I'll be doing that, is circumventing, um what do you call it? Circumventing like Spotify and all of these shady conglomerate practices, and keeping all of our rights and hosting everything from wethehallowed.org. And you can actually, can I make a comment? I don't know how to do this on my phone. If you go to wethehallowed.org, what does this do? Nope. Sticker. All right, let's try that. No, I don't want to ask a question. This is so dumb. No links or anything? How do I write? Yeah, I've never used this phone for live streaming with YouTube, so I'm having a weird time with it. I'll put it in the description. Oh, it is in the description. It's the wethehallowed.org/echo-aspector. That has all versions of the most recent album, except for this very special cassette one that I created solely for Somatick subscribers through the Patreon, which is patreon.com/Pragmagick. Again, I'll be here every week in some variety, if it's from the back of my truck or it's from the dimming room. But here is, this is our merch box for live shows where we sell the cassettes, and you can see that here's our sign. But actually, can you? I'm trying to see if you can see. There you go. There it is. That's our merch box for selling cassettes. And in here I have the Moon Rival split with me and Freighter Perseus, who's in the chat, our Dim Zoom project. The other Revelator Raws album that has only on cassette and not released anywhere else. And this is one of the many machines I'll be using to duplicate, but this is specifically the stereo version. And then I have a mono one too for my Hantomancer chapters and other things, other non-stereo needed. I could do both mono, really, but I spent so much hard work producing, recording this album. It's worth listening to in headphones. And if you have it on cassette, it'll be super fun. There's a lot of brilliant things in it. Oh yeah, be sure to sign up at wethehallowed.org for our print newsletter, art newsletter, zines. There's my little guy. We The Hallowed Press. We're doing it. We're keeping going. We're just kind of languishing in our fervor and not, time to meet new folks and to widen the gyre, as it were, because these things deserve to be heard. They deserve to be seen. And I hope you guys at least check it out. I hope you guys are okay with folks who are maybe a little too opinionated about art and creativity and how everything needs to be touched and processed with their own, human fallibility, and how AI will never enter this kind of psychosphere that we're creating here. And I hope you're okay with that, because it's going to be here from here on out, it's going to be like that. There's going to be even more kind of artgasms and barfs that have nothing to do with AI, that have nothing to do with, you know, low intentional, energetic, bad magic force fields. What's your Twitch channel? Oh, the Twitch channel is Pragmagick. I forgot about Twitch. I think that's also what screwed me up last night, is I tried to simulcast to it. You can find me on Twitch. I think it's twitch.tv/Pragmagick. In the future, I'll try to do that. I'll try to, stream there as well. And hopefully you subscribe, because over how many years of doing the podcast and putting out records and everything, and I still haven't hit 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, which is insane, because it's just so much wealth of material that I've put on YouTube. And I get it, it's very niche or whatever, but come on, get me over the hump so that I can start monetizing the channel. Staying found. Morgan, tell the fam. Morgan says, hey, love catching up on what you're doing. Good to see you, Morgan. Hope you guys are doing well in the holler out there. I sometimes I see you're keeping up, and it looks like everything's going beautiful over there. It looks like a blast where you're at. I'm like self censoring, trying not to mention where anybody lives and all that. It's a muscle I got to train. But awesome. Good to see you, Morgan. Yeah, thank you for stopping by. I will. I'll tell Mary you say hi. And we should all pick banjos on a porch together someday. Speaking of which, after I make some copies of these cassettes, I gotta pop the hood of my car, my truck. I think my air conditioning motor is dead and kaput, which is not going to help me sleep at night, literally, when I'm having to live in the car on work spells, because it's about to get real hot. So, all that said, I hope we covered, I hope we transubstantiated, right? Is that the word? Yeah, transubstantiation. Yeah. I hope we transubstantiated, uh, you know, some water into wine, some bread into flesh here, with the knowledge that it doesn't take all that pizzazz of cassette tapes and, analog fervor and heavy and hard work to just hit live and have a kind of a meaningful back and forth. And that's what I plan on doing no matter what moving forward. So please tune in, check out, and yeah, hunt on, folks. We'll see you real soon. Maybe sooner than you think. Because now that the spirit box pretty much is working, look forward to that videomancy stream. I got to try it again. I got to do it. I'm going to be obsessed with it if I don't perform this spirit box videomancy projection communion that I've worked hard on developing. It's so cool. It's very, very fucking neat. And it'll be really fun to do it live. So maybe tonight, maybe tomorrow.